Hello viewers, my name is Chase Clover, and this is my review on the October 1st, 2014 edition of USW Wednesday Night Intensity, number 90. Intensity was good last night. I didn't put out a review last night, and I have to put out 2 videos now today. But Intensity was very good last night. Very interesting, return to Hartford. Yes, they are back in Hartford. The live broadcast went a little bit underplayed. I guess they were having some trouble with the cuts and the blurs or whatever. And that made it a little bit difficult to be able to enjoy Intensity since there were a few interruptions. So I guess it didn't start off the way that I would have hoped it would have, but for the most part, based on the matches and based on the story for tonight, or last night, I'm going to say tonight though, it was very good. It was very interesting. I liked it. And we'll just start off with going into it. Before we had the first match, we had Zach Hardy come out. He was not as Enigma. He had his alter ego away for a little bit, and he came as Hardy. Came out to the Enigma song though, but what else are you gonna do? You can't really play his theme song, otherwise they're gonna think that Zach Hardy's back. But he came out, and he didn't come out with a title belt because he said that, I forgot what he said. He said something about how it was needed to, I guess, make the number 1 contenders match for the championship a little bit more meaningful. And you'll find out about that later on in the show, and later on in this video. But he opened up, he had been saying that he had been waiting to say this line ever since they left Hartford. So he said, "We're back." And he said that multiple times throughout his story. He said, "We are back in the Matthew J. Casey Memorial Coliseum." He said, "We are back in Hartford, Connecticut." He said, "We're back." And he said that multiple times during his promo, because he said he could not get enough of it. He said, sadly, he was not on the card for the show, their return show to Hartford, but he was able to watch their the main event, which would be the number 1 contenders match for the USW Championship, between Derek Carter and Lone Wolf. But anyway, he went to the backstage area and he did his Hardy pose instead of the Enigma pose, and we went on from the show from there. So the first match on the card was Fernandez with Gringo in his corner defeating Western Light with Moshigeta in his corner. I guess this tried to fuel the fire burning between them a little bit more, now that we're going into Caution 2014, and now that we're going to possibly go into the final match of their feud. Fernandez looked very good in this match. He had a lot of these high-flying maneuvers and a lot of kicks to the head in the midsection of Western Light. Western Light got his hits in as well. At one point he hit Fernando, Fernando was jumping off the top rope, and Western Light jumped up and did a kick to the face of him. Sorry for that interruption. Once again, sorry for the interruption. Western Light had his spots in the match as well, but Fernandez looked excellent last night. He was able to connect with a lot of these reversals that he was able to perform on Western Light, and he was just able to outsmart Western Light in the ring, and that really brought a lot of my interest into the match, being as Fernandez was able to get around the ring very well. He was very aware of his surroundings, and that made me enjoy the match. I apologize. The interruption was just fucked all this bullshit up. Anyway, Fernandez beats Western Light. Second match is Ash and Crimson Red defeating Anarchy and Titanfall. So, the Blue Belt Championship picture versus the Extreme Championship picture, Anarchy and Titanfall, who are the challengers, Ash and Crimson Red, who are the champions. It was a good match. Anarchy and Titanfall performed well together. Ash and Crimson Red had a bumpy road. They ended up starting as singles competitors. They At one point, it was Crimson Red who was deciding not to make the tag in, even though he was kind of worn down. I guess they're used to the singles matches. They're used to having to keep their composure, keep their cool, and be able to go on from there and continue to perform and not get tired, things like that. Although that's not really much of an excuse, because Anarchy and Titanfall were very used to, for some reason, seemed like they were very used to the tag team, part of the match. They were teaming up very well, and it ended up happening. What ended up happening was, Ash was able to get the victory over Titanfall after he was able to kick Anarchy in the head, and after Anarchy tried to get in the ring, Crimson Red kept him from getting in the ring, which got Ash to hit his move on Titanfall and be able to cover him for the victory. So Ash and Crimson Red win that match. And afterwards, Anarchy got on the mic and told Ash he wanted one more shot. And Ash, I believe what Anarchy did, or what Anarchy said a few weeks ago, Ash said, "I don't know if you're actually capable of taking this championship from me. I don't know if you're much of a challenge. I don't think you've got what it takes," which is exactly what Anarchy said to Ash the week before he won the Blue Belt Championship from Anarchy. And I found out that Ash is the longest reigning USW Blue Belt champion in history, and he's continuing that reign. So he's gonna break 70 days, which is very cool, very interesting, and like what I'm seeing. But Ash accepted, and he said if Anarchy did not beat him at caution, then he was going to think long and hard about even if he wanted to ever give him another championship match. And that makes me think Anarchy may win the championship at caution, but we're gonna wait and see what happens to find out what happens. Third match on the card was Vicious defeating Eli with Rain in his corner. I think they're going to be starting a Vicious and Rain feud, and that should be interesting because they are good performers. Before signing with Ultimate Showcase Wrestling, they were quiet down. They were on the independent circuit, and they were competing against very good performers that were very deserving of being signed to some kind of wrestling organization. Once again, sorry for the fucking interruption. They were on the independent circuit. They were, they were deserving of being signed to USW, and USW has since not made anything of them. They have not used them in any feuds. They're one of the very few people who have not been in a solid feud, as in like it going over a month or two, or over the span of one pay-per-view. And USW has not been capable of doing that with them. And they are good performers. They are very entertaining. At least from when they are in the ring with USW, and also from their independent circuit days. I'm looking forward to this feud, and I don't know what to expect. It's one of those Lane and BP Fierce rivalries from last Saturday. I put the prediction of who I thought was going to win, Lane or BP Fierce, and I hadn't seen much of them recently, so it was hard for me to make a decision. And I think it's going to be the same thing with Rain and Vicious. I have not seen them in a USW ring. I've not seen them compete very recently. As a matter of fact, the only time I've really seen them compete before the top rope match, or the top world qualifying match, was back at Insanity. And that was when both of them were in the 20-man gauntlet match. So I guess they're trying to use them to fill up spots. But using them in a feud would be awesome, and I think the fans would get behind Rain, because Vicious seems to be like the heel character. So only time will tell. We'll find out what happens in the future. Let's see. And then after the match came the fourth match, and it was Philip Akron with BP Fierce in his corner, defeating Lane. I'm not sure what to say from that, because we had just seen a random face Lane, and then we saw that random or going up against, never mind. They're going up against some performer, and then the performer that's in the corner is the one that's facing the performer that they're facing. So this was like a repeat, like deja vu, and I didn't know what to expect. I now know that Philip Akron is a heel. So Philip Akron is a heel. And Philip Akron defeated Lane with BP Fierce in Philip Akron's corner. Not much else to say about that. Lane went for a few moves and miscalculated on a bunch of them. And Philip Akron was able to counter on Lane's moves. So I don't know who was with Lane last night, but he did not perform to the point where he could have, to the extent that he could have. But either way, Lane then challenged BP Fierce to a match, and we went on to the fifth match, which was James with Simon Saint in his corner versus BP Fierce with Tallman Chris Ross in his corner. BP Fierce was just in a managing spot. I don't know what the fuck happened, and then he became this. Then he went into this wrestling mode, and he had Tallman Chris Ross in his corner. I don't know what the fuck was going on at that point. I was very confused, but it ended up happening that James and Simon Saint won. Well, James won, which was not surprising to me, because James, he did a lot of what Philip Akron did to Lane. He counted on a lot of BP Fierce's moves, but instead of keeping BP Fierce from countering on his moves, he was able to do a lot of these moves where he didn't need to grapple. He didn't need to do whatever. He could just do a springboard, super kick. He could do a springboard, dive kick, or cross body, or jump off the top rope and do something like that. But James played it smart in the ring last night, and I give him credit for that. He's a great performer. He's a very excellent performer, I should say. And he's deserving of this TV time, or this. He played it smart in the ring. I respect him for that, and I give him credit for that, because there are not many performers that can actually do that. James is a great performer. He deserves the time on Intensity and the time on USW shows or whatever that he's getting, and he's deserving of the push that he's getting. It may be a small push, but it is a push nonetheless. We go into the sixth match, and it is Cannon and Mojigetta with Prophecy and Western Light in their corner, defeating Benny Franklin and Gringo with Ezra and Kills and Fernandez in their corner. When did you ever think Cannon and Mojigetta would team up in a tag team match? When did you think that would happen? And that wasn't even the main event. Although in my eyes, it could definitely have been. And on the 90th edition of Intensity, on October 1st, 2014, 3 weeks away from USW Caution 2014, from 9 to 11 p.m. Eastern Time, live. That Intensity, you got to see Cannon and Mojigetta team up. When did you ever think you'd be able to say that? But they ended up winning, which is not a big surprise, because they are, in my opinion, out of the 5 biggest performers, Zach Hardy, Cannon, and Mojigetta are always going to be the top 3, and you had 2 of the top 3 performers teaming together and kicking ass in the ring. Benny Franklin and Gringo did not stand a chance in comparison to Cannon and Moshigeta. So Cannon and Moshigeta dominated the match and ended up picking up the victory after a decapitator on Benny Franklin and then by Moshigeta, and then Cannon with the cannonball backflip and pinning him. And Gringo tried to interfere in the match, but Moshigeta hit him with a decapitator and kept him from interfering. And Cannon and Moshigeta picked up the win. And then Cannon and Prophecy challenged Benny Franklin and Ezra and Kills to a match for the Unified USW Tag Team Championships. They will not get a shot at Bulletproof 7 because Ezra and Kills, as you may know, won the top rope match, which means he is the one of the guys in the main event of Bulletproof 7. Yippee. And then Moshigeta and Western Light challenged Fernandez and Gringo to the match where Moshigeta would face Fernandez for the International Championship. And one of Fernandez's selections of dialogue was that if he did not win at caution, if they had another match after caution, everything would be on the line. Don't know what that means, but we'll find out what it means in future time. So we go into the 7th match, and this was apparently one of the 2 main event matches on Intensity. Yes, we actually had 2. This match was the number 1 contenders match for the USW World Heavyweight Championship. The winner would face Capital at Caution 2014. Between Seth, who is a face, and Yo-Yo Joe, who is now a heel. I actually didn't think about what they could have done with Yo-Yo Joe if he were a heel. I didn't even expect him to be a heel. I didn't expect him to turn him a heel. This is actually pretty cool. A change of pace, I guess. Now Yo-Yo Joe has a chance to win the USW World Heavyweight Championship. The reason being because Yo-Yo Joe defeated Seth, and it will now be Yo-Yo Joe vs. Capital for the USW World Heavyweight Championship at Caution 2014 on October 19th of 2014, I believe. So in 3 weeks. So I'm looking forward to that match, and it was a very competitive match. This match went on for about 20 minutes. It went back and forth, and Yo-Yo Joe picked up the victory after hitting the string effect. Seth actually went for whatever his finishing maneuver is called now, and Yo-Yo Joe was able to twist him in midair and get him in position for the string effect, hit him with the string effect, covered him for the win. So, Yo-Yo Joe will face Capital at Caution for the World Heavyweight Championship. Looking forward to that match. Then we go into the 8th match on the card, the second of 2 main event matches, the number 1 contenders match for the USW Championship. Lone Wolf defeats Derek Carter. So, one of my wants was to have a Yo-Yo Joe, I'm still on that World Title match, was to have a Lone Wolf versus Enigma, or Zach Hardy, match. And what a better way to do it than to be on the final match for this championship before a number 1 contender has already been named. Great. I'm really looking forward to it. Lone Wolf got put down for most of the beginning of the match, and then once the tempo changed during the middle of the match, he started overpowering Derek Carter, and he was able to pull out that last-ditch effort with the howl, I think he calls it, or the Lone Wolf, I don't know. He was able to put his finishing maneuver on Derek Carter. Derek Carter tapped out, and Lone Wolf will face Zach Hardy for the USW Championship at Caution 2014 in 3 weeks. And after that, Lone Wolf and Zach Hardy stood face to face. Hardy held up the championship, and they both got a microphone. Lone Wolf said into the mic, "In 3 weeks, your championship reign will end. I may not have faced you in the past, but what a way to win, or what a way to end our first match with me coming out on top." Hardy said into the microphone, "We may have never faced before, we may never face again. But one thing is for sure. In 3 weeks, at Caution 2014, I will beat you, plain and simple, for the USW Championship, and I will walk out still USW Champion." Then they faced off, and intensity went off the air. It went black screen as they both looked at each other and smiled. They would not even smile. It was more like a smirk, like a grin, like. It was awesome. It was what a way to go out on their first match, their first intensity back in Hartford, Connecticut, on their first live broadcast, and to end on what will be the first of maybe the only match between Hardy and Lone Wolf at Caution for the USW Championship. I couldn't have thought of a better way to go off the air on intensity. So anyway, guys, that was my review on the October 1st, 2014 edition of USW Wednesday Night Intensity number 90. Thank you for watching. Remember, like, favorite, and subscribe for more. I'm Chase Clover, signing off. I will see you next week. Signing off. I am Chase Clover, signing off.